All right, so for this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to use a grid to draw something as accurately as possible. And I've got two tips here for you. So as you can see, I've got a printout with a Batman image on it, and there's a 1" by 1" grid on this. And then I have my final draft paper at a larger scale where my grid is 2.5, or I'm sorry, it's 2" by 2", and it makes it double the size of this. So the whole purpose of using a grid is to draw your image as accurately as possible with the best proportions as possible. So my two tips. Tip number one is using fractions. All right, so I already have a little bit of this drawn out, but I would like to get going in a different place. And I always try to look for an easy place to start. For example, this line right here for the shoulder goes right through the intersection of that grid. I love starting in areas like that because it's difficult to get that wrong. All right, so that's actually 2 squares up, 2 squares over, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that line is actually going right through there in that intersection, just like that. And I hope you can see my grid lines, and that they're not too light, so you can see what I'm doing here. So let's draw this line of the shoulder. So like I told you earlier, my first tip for you is to use fractions to help you figure out where things go. So instead of just kind of guessing and drawing this shoulder line along through the square, I'm going to just jump to where this line intersects the next line of the grid, which is over here. So it's going to start here, and I know it's going to cross through somewhere over here. So if you just think of simple fractions to help you figure out where that's located, it makes your life much easier. So I like to stick with simple fractions like halves and quarters. So if I were just to split up this square right here this way in half, I think that would end up about right there. If I were to split this square in half, it would end up about right there. And I know the shoulder line for the cape is a little bit below that mark. So if I have that line crossing through the grid right here, I know I'm in pretty good shape. And at that point in time, it's just connecting the dots. I know this line kind of comes down, it bumps up, it has a couple of bumps to get over to that line. All right, then I need to go from this intersection of the grid to the next one, which is right here. All right, so if I split this square in half, right about there, I know the cape goes just a little left of that. So over here, if I split this square in half, it's about right here, I just eyeball it, and I know the cape is gonna go right through there, just a little bit to the left of that mark. And then I realize that there's a couple of bumps going on with the cape. So it might come over this way, come down a little bit, over, and I know it crosses right through there, just like that. All right, so that's how you use fractions to help you figure out where things cross through. If it's a little bit more complex than exact halves, maybe we can try the intersection of this jawline here. Let's see how that works. So we're gonna make a shape here like this within the grid. I need to figure out where that jawline crosses in between this square. So if I mark halfway in between this line and this line, that's about right here. All right, that intersection is nowhere near that. So I split that in half and use a quarter, which is about right here. And right there, a quarter of the way down, is right where that jawline intersects with the grid. So here's the square I'm working on. In between this grid line and this one, this is about halfway. All right, and if I split that in half again, that gives me a quarter of the way, and I know that line cuts right through there. So the jaw is going to come through this way, and then I need to figure out where the bottom of the jaw is. I know it's kind of difficult to see in this printout because my printer is running low on ink, but about halfway in this square is right here, so we know that the chin is below that. A quarter of the way is roughly right here at the bottom of that printer mark. So the chin is a little bit below or a little bit above that quarter mark. So that's about halfway. That's about a quarter. I know that the chin is going to go across right through here, a little bit above that mark. Through here. And then the neckline is going to come up and meet with that, and that gives me this unique shape right here in the negative space. So that's how you use fractions to figure out where things go.